And while you all are waiting, if you could take a moment to look at the sign-up sheet that was just posted in the chat. And welcome everyone to our transfer workshop. Just need another minute to get ready. But again, if you could take a moment to fill out the sign-up sheet that was posted in the chat. Okay.
What's up?
All right. I think we're ready to start now. Hi, everyone. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. This is the HSAC's 11th annual summer transfer workshop. So first, I'm gonna pass the mic on to Dr. Sino. She's gonna give a few words regarding another one of the publications that the honors program and HSAC does, which is the honors journal. So Dr. Sino, if all yours.
Thank you, Veronica. Thanks, Raven. Hi, everyone. I know just a couple of you, but not most of you. And I am grateful to Veronica and Raven for giving me just a couple of moments of your time so that I can just explain a little bit about the LaGuardia Honors Journal. Some of you who are here are in the Honors Journal, so you already know quite a bit about it. But I wanted to just mention it to this group for two reasons. So if you're here at a transfer workshop, I'm guessing you've been at LaGuardia for a couple of semesters already, at least. Maybe you're close to graduation, or maybe not. Maybe you're relatively new to the college. But there are two ways you can get involved with the Honors Journal. So one is if you are taking an honors class, your professor can nominate your paper from the class for an upcoming edition of the journal. So we publish it once a year, every spring. And I have been working with other faculty members in other departments to get the issue out. Next year, I will be the faculty chair, and I work with about 6 to 8 other faculty members across different departments to read all the submissions that we receive, and then to work with students to publish those. So first, let me actually just share the link. I should have done that earlier. This is our most recent edition of the journal. We will continue, thanks to Veronica and her co-editor Alexander, we will continue to use Wix as our main site for publishing the journal next year. So it will be an online publication, which makes it super accessible, really easy to put on a CV. So as I was saying, one way that you can participate is that your paper may be nominated to actually be published in the journal. If you've written something, if you're a current honors student and you've written something in a past class and you think, you know what, I really want to work on this, you could also approach a professor and say, I heard about the journal. Would you be willing to nominate this paper? Or what type of work do you think I might need to do to get it to a place where it would be ready to nominate? So, you know, that's a conversation you can have that I think many professors would be open to. But another way to get involved with the journal is to become part of our editorial team. And so you, if you would like, can definitely talk to Veronica more about this and our other editor, Alexander Davidoff, who know the ins and outs of the process. But this position is a great experience if you want to be involved in writing, publishing, if you want to go on to grad school, or if you're not sure about grad school yet and you just know you want to go on to a four-year college, which I suspect all of you do since you're here, you can certainly get a lot of experience that would be really valued by admissions counselors at a four-year college by being part of a publication like this. So our editors meet with me, and once I have a set of nominated papers that that have been sent back to students and I've received revisions from students, I will start to work with the editors to lay out the journal itself. And so there's all sorts of formatting and sort of visual decisions that editors make. And then you also, as an editor of the journal, would be corresponding with students, getting bios from them. You'd also be looking for visual content, which really gives the journal another sort of level of interest for people. So you would be soliciting that visual content, and then you would be doing the design and the layout. So the link again is in the chat. I know people are working to get themselves signed in right now, but if you want to go back to it, please do. You may have seen it already, but we would really love to get some interest from current honors students to be next year's editors. And I'll just say, Veronica, is there anything else you want to add about maybe like if you had to estimate the number of hours you put in total, what would you say that was?
Well, it's it's kind of like a difficult question because it's not like we were actually like, you know, counting, but
Right.
I would say it would like per week, depending on like how I would say like around like 4 hours per week in a span of like what a couple like 2 months that we actually like started like adding all the essays. So
Yeah.
I mean, it really the work is not really like too it's nothing too heavy. It's just making sure, you know, like like really paying attention to detail and making sure that everything matches the same theme, and making sure that that everything is in order with the essays. But once it comes together, it really is it's very inspiring and nice to see like all the work from the honor students like being in this publication. So we really like try to make it like, you know, like really honor all this all the work that the students put in, so that they could be happy to like share and post this as, I don't know, in their CV, or share it with like in the future with like, I don't know, with their jobs, so that they could like it looks really nice and really presentable for so yeah, it really is fun actually to do this. So really, if you're interested, like you can contact me or you can contact Dr. Osaino, and yeah, really go for it.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. So I'm going to put my email in the chat. And I'll just say yes to echo Veronica, and just to sum up. So, you know, of course, if you're someone who's able to publish your work in the journal, that is looked at very favorably by four-year colleges. This is a reviewed publication, something in academia that we call a peer-reviewed publication. So, you know, while I am leading the journal, I'm also working on two academic journals in my field, which is writing and the teaching of writing and pedagogy. So all the things I do with other professors for those journals on editorial teams, I bring to, you know, my experience helping students to get comfortable editing the honors journal. And that's work that I'm doing with colleagues at LaGuardia. So it really is a very, you know, it's a parallel experience, one for the peer-reviewed publishing process as you get feedback and you revise your work if you're someone who's nominated and who's submitting writing. And on the editorial side, you can list on your CV things like proofreading, design, and layout formatting. Also, you're sort of a communications manager with students. You're getting bios, you're making sure that students meet deadlines, you're helping us to get images, as I said. So there's a variety of tasks on the editorial side that I think are also very highly valued. And if you would like to know more, certainly contacting Veronica, I think she'll be able to tell you details of the editorial position. But if you'd like to know anything else about the journal or how to get involved, I would love to speak to you. So I don't want to take up any more time, but thank you again, Raven and Veronica, for letting me speak.
Thank you, Dr. Sino. Yeah, I will post my email on the chat in a bit, but thank you so much for coming here today.
Sure. And have a great workshop. And I hope maybe to see some of you on campus in the fall.
Yeah.
So, otherwise, if you're leaving us and you are transferring, then congratulations and good luck. And I wish you the best.
Thank you, Dr. Sino.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Take care.
All right. So now we're going to move on to the transfer workshop. So give me just 1 second so I can share my screen. Also, you can pay, if you have questions, we're gonna have a Q&A session towards the end of the workshop. So any questions that you have, you can paste as we go. You can write them in the chat, and then towards the end we'll go over and answer the ones that haven't been answered yet. So also I just posted a message with the correct link for the attendance form. So please, sorry about that, but please use that one to sign up. The other one was being edited by everyone. So this is the last one that was posted is the right link. All right. So, well, once again, this we'll start the 11th annual summer transfer workshop with everything you need to know about transferring to a 4-year school. So I'm pretty sure that the transfer process may seem like a long and daunting task, but if you manage your time well and stay organized, it will become way less stressful and your efforts will really be rewarded. So whether you're in your last year of LaGuardia or just starting, it's never too early to start thinking about transfer. And one of the first steps is selecting which college to transfer to. So that's a pretty big decision that you will have to make. But hopefully after this workshop and throughout your time at LaGuardia, you will have you will get the information that will make this task way easier. So many other students and HSAC members have gone through this process. I just went through this process a couple of months ago, and we have had very successful outcomes. So we have compiled a guidebook to help you stay organized and guide you through the transfer process so that you can achieve your academic goals. So one of our members will post the PDF for the transfer guidebook so you can have that. So first of all, what are we going to talk about? We'll talk about generating your college list, increasing your chances to get accepted at the universities that you're interested in, the academic documentation that you're going to need for your transfer process, the strategies for writing the personal essay and how to ask and what is a letter of recommendation. And finally, and possibly one of the most important things, financial aid, how you're going to fund your transfer up to a 4-year school, whether it is grants, scholarships, loans, and other types of financial aid. So, okay, so a few quick tips. Like I mentioned already, it's never too early to start thinking about transfer. I would say the earlier you start thinking about it, the better. So you can start early, you can get way more organized, and we have here the list of all the available transfer resources at campus. One of those is HSAC, which is us. I know that fall that we're going back to in person. So here's our the HSAC office is on the M building. On the office is M201B. There's also the transfer services, which has a lot of information to like for different transfers, especially like for CUNY and SUNY schools. And you can make an appointment with a transfer advisor and they will help you with this. And also like your peers, could be alumni that you know from LaGuardia, or other students that are going through the transfer process at the moment. I already have some information. You can talk to them and say, and they can like at least guide you on how to start. So other tips, like to increase your chances, the earlier you start, you will have the chance to like take honors classes, which like you get an honors notation on your transcript, and classes see that, and colleges see that you're a student that likes to like challenge themselves. Also, you can start planning about getting involved in extracurricular activities, like could be research, could be joining PTK, could be any of the other activities that LaGuardia offers. And that way you can build your list of accomplishments that you will later present to the different schools that you're interested in, and like have a stronger application to these schools. So a few things that you should know about. There's two main platforms for application, which are the Common Application, and the other one is the Coalition app. Around for the Common Application, many colleges and universities are members. So it's one application, one platform, where you can apply to different schools on the same platform. So basically you have, you fill out just one application, you fill out your personal information, your academic history, your supported information, but this last, that's the program materials, those tend to vary depending on the schools that you're applying to. So different schools will require different program materials, but in the end, like it's like 3/4 of the application, it's just you just do one job, right? So that really helps if you want to apply to a lot of schools. That really cuts down the work for you. Same with the Coalition app. The personal information, academic history, and supporting information is going to be the same, and the program materials are going to vary depending on the schools. So now these are you can find like different universities, public or private, in both applications. Some universities are in only use one platform, some universities only use the other. But if you're only interested in applying to a CUNY or SUNY school, CUNY has its own platform, which you can find through CUNY first, and SUNY also has its own platform for applying to the SUNY schools. So that's very important. So if you're just going for CUNY or just going for SUNY, it's better if you can find them on the Common Application, but the process is way more direct, like if you use the corresponding platform for that. So next we have the first task, which is generating your college list, figuring out what school you're going for. So the first thing that you want to do is, well, first think about like, what would you like to study? It's okay if you haven't decided on something yet. You can have different options or things that you might be interested in. So you can start with that. You don't need to like, oh yeah, I want to go for this degree. You can have different options and start with that. So first of all, based on these options, right? First, speak with your professors. Hey, this is what I'm interested in. What can I do? Like maybe what schools have a good program for this? Or same, like you can reach out to HSAC members. We also, like some of us like also have we know also about that information. Or you can go for your advisor. So use the resources that you have at school. Now, once you have an idea to like where what do you want to do for your bachelor's. So attend the transfer fair, especially if you're still deciding like on a degree or honors or which schools to apply to. Attending the transfer fairs that happen at LaGuardia will give you a better idea, because like you can kind of like you will see different universities. You can go ahead, like go around, ask questions, and that will really give you like way more information. So one of the things, so basically do your research. So once you have an idea what you want to study, you start doing the research. Like for example, there are certain certain websites like US News, Forbes, and Unigo, where you can go and search, like, for example, if I'm interested in environmental science, which schools are the best for the environmental science program? And that will show you it will give you an overall, a general view of like this, the schools that are good for this, like in a ranking option, in ranking form. And it will also give you like an overall, like how's the campus life there, how is like what's the acceptance rate, what is like the impressions and reviews from students that have attended there. So that will really give you like an overall view of this of the schools that are good for the degree or the class that you want to take. So well, that will be like the first factor, which is academic quality and fit. And then take into consideration also the acceptance rate. So you ideally, you don't want to like focus like on all your energy in just one school, maybe like a very different school to get into with a really small acceptance rate. Ideally, you want to have a rich school, which is like with a small acceptance rate and is very challenging. Then you want to have a target school, which is like a middle ground, maybe not like the acceptance rate is like bigger than your rich school and it's not so hard to get into. And then a safety school, which is which doesn't have like that many requirements, and you know that you most likely get accepted. So that way, at least have 3 schools that you're interested in that that have these qualities. Then you want to look into campus life, like what, aside from academic, like the academic stuff, what else do you want to, like, what else can you do in this 4-year school? Do you have to move out of the city or out of the state? How is the housing there? What type of extracurricular activities? Because you're gonna be spending possibly 2 years or possibly more in this school, so you want to go to somewhere you actually feel good like studying at. So you want to know that if there's any activities that you would like to do like aside from classes, and make sure that that's something that really catches your attention. Also, like, how is it could even be like, what's the diversity of the students that go there, because that is also really important, having the for your academic experience. Now, also, like, the next thing that you have to take into consideration is like how costly attending that school will be. If it's gonna be very costly, like how, because then you have to start thinking how you're gonna fund this education. And then once you have, like, by this point, you already should have like a reach, a target, and a safety school. So, or at least like a couple ideas of which schools you want to go. So after you have like a small list, now attend the information sessions at this school so you can get more familiarized with the transfer process, what the requirements are, how's the academic part of it, like way more the information sessions are way more like specific. And visit the campus so that way you can know, like, oh, like if you like how the campus looks, if you know how, that way you can know how far it is and how your commute will be. Or if you have to go live there, you will get a better idea and you won't you will be less likely to get lost on the first day if you end up attending there, right? So basically, all the things that I've already mentioned are basically doing your research to get, like, know which schools you're gonna apply to, and which schools, like how many schools you're gonna apply to, how much time that is going to require. So this research process, I would say, is one of the longest of the process of transferring, because you really want to make sure that you're choosing the best schools or the best fit for you before you do all the work of applying. So I would say this takes like around 6 months at the very least. But so don't leave. That's why we say, like, always start early. Don't leave it for the last minute, because you're really, like, if you really want to be happy with the choices that you made, or the schools that you get into, you really want to put in the work to make your research and know, like, what school is going to be the best fit for you. So now I'll pass the mic on to Lenin. He's going to talk about increasing your chances to get into your dream school.
Hi guys, yeah, my name is Lenin, and yeah, I want to talk about the increasing your chances, um, because depending on what college you apply, there could be thousands of other students applying at the same time, and so it's going to be a very competitive environment. So how do you stand out from everyone else? The two main things I want to focus on the play a big role in increasing your chances are the academics and your involvement in the campus. So I'm sure the first thing I'm sure everyone know is that um, it really depends on your classes that you take and your GPA. So for every class that you take, you want to strive for that A grade. The highest grade you can get. The higher the GPA, the better it looks in your transcript, and the higher the chances you have to get into the college of your choosing. Um, but it's not enough to have just a good looking GPA. The thousands of other students that are applying, they might also have a similar or if not even better GPA than you. And also the admission officers, they don't look just at the GPA. They look at all your transcript and they take note of every class that you take or that you took. So because colleges are looking for students that challenge themselves and are looking for those that show the hard work. And so to get this done, it's better to register for higher level courses and by taking honors classes. Um, if you, a la Warrior, if you're taking at least 12 credits or your GPA is at least 3.2, you can register for honor classes. In the chat, I can put in the list of the honors classes that that the LaGuardia is offering for the fall semester. Give me a minute, and there. On the chat, you'll see all the honor classes that you can take for this fall. And the special thing about the honors classes is that once you complete them, um, in your transcript, it will show a special notation showing that it was an honors course. And so when the admissions officers see this notation, it tells them that you challenge yourself, that you decided not to just settle for regular classes, but you decided to do more. Um, and the thing about this, the honor classes and also just the higher level courses, they get you ready for the kind of work that you will be doing at the 4-year universities. So you want to prep yourself and you want to really push yourself to show these colleges that you are ready for their programs and for their classes. The other thing is that when the admission officers they're looking at your whole application, they're looking at also your involvement with the campus and the kind of activities that you partake. Because the admission office, they don't just look at the numbers or the classes you take, they're looking at every aspect of your academic life. And so they're looking for a well-rounded student. And to be the student then, it's good to join programs and clubs and just get yourself more involved than just the classes. Like we mentioned earlier today, at the beginning, we mentioned the Honest Journal. That's a great way to get yourself more involved. LaGuardia also offers a whole dozens of other clubs and opportunities. And as you can see, you can have you can join like the CUNY Research Scholars Program, the Pi Theta Kappa, HSAC, which is what we are, the President's Society, and like I said, the Honors Journal. And no matter what it is, though, strive to really get yourself involved. Colleges are looking for marks that show that initiative, the leadership skills, and community impact. So when involved in these clubs and programs, you want to make sure that you leave an impact for the better. Those two things, academic academics and then in your involvement are the things that will give you a better chance, and they complement each other basically. Your GPA might not be as high as everyone else, but if you show your commitment and your leadership skills through all the other um, programs that you join, it shows, it looks great for the admission officers. Um, Lastly, though, there's also the other things, the extracurricular activities, any job experiences that you have, sports that you're part in, any hobbies that you partake, talents that you have. Maybe you have a blog about fashion or science. Maybe you create videos on YouTube. Maybe you volunteer someplace in the weekends. Everything makes everything that you do makes part of you, and that's what the admissions officers are looking for. They're looking for what makes you and what makes you different from everyone else. And of course, maintain the connections. um, getting more involved, getting to know the professors, advisors, the admissions officers. They kind of will help you, give you more advices. They might tell you, get you those connections that you need. And basically everything overall will help with your chances of getting into the university that you wanted. All right, back to you, Veronica.
All right, so next we have the academic documentation as the transfer process. So I'll leave Raven to take care of that. Raven, all yours.
Thank you, Veronica, and thank you, Lenin, for all the useful information so far. And thank you all for taking the time to be here today. My name is Raven, and I'm an alumni of LaGuardia Community College. I graduated back in 2014, and I transferred to Smith College, graduated in 2018, and now I'm in a master's program at the Graduate Center in Digital Humanities. So it's been some time since I've been through the transfer process, but I can assure you that all the skills that you will gain and the experience you gain from this process, you will carry with you. And I definitely reference back to a lot of it when I was applying for graduate school. So with that, I'll get started on my end with academic documentation of the transfer process. And if we just put the next slide. Here we go. So like we've mentioned before, planning ahead is a crucial part to staying on top of the documentation checklist. Each individual school, once you've generated your college list, has a separate set of deadlines and requirements that it's very important to stay on top of and to evaluate the cost, how much time can you truly invest in your transfer application process, because it can easily begin to feel overwhelming. So we can start with the application fee waivers and the college documentation process, which if you didn't know, for private school applications, the admissions website of each college website should have an option to request for a fee waiver. And if they don't, you can contact the admissions office directly through phone or email and say that you need a fee waiver to apply for the college. And then you would take your fee waivers to transfer services, where they'll help you fill them out and send them out to the colleges specifically. And the college report, the next thing on the list, can be found on the Common App. And if it's not on the Common App, then some schools like Columbia General Studies, for example, don't use the Common Application. So you can find a lot of the application documentation forms on their own website specifically. But the college report also needs to be signed off on from the transfer services office. So what I would recommend, since we're still in remote learning, in the past, I would say just stop by the office and they'll help you with this. But from remote, what you can do is go to your My LaGuardia portal page, search for transfer services, and you make an appointment with them so that you pick a time and day, and then they'll work with you on getting all these forms. Be ready with all of this. The more time you can save by meeting with them one-on-one, the more time it's going to be effective. Be prepared, be organized. The midterm report, which is an evaluation of the classes that won't be reflected on the transcript that you send out. They'll be the sort of the last courses that you're taking, and the colleges that you apply for may ask for this midterm report to get a sense of how you're doing in your classes, if you're keeping up to academic standards. So as we know, the LaGuardia academic calendar can be a bit different than a lot of colleges, and that's something important to keep on track of your deadlines. Contact your admissions office if you need more time to get things like the midterm report in. I remember in my experience, I did that, and the colleges were surprisingly flexible in giving me more time to send in certain aspects of the documentations at different times when they understood that the LaGuardia schedule is different than the other schedules. They couldn't give me my professors couldn't give me a proper midterm evaluation during like the first 2 weeks of classes. So that's something to definitely stay on top of. The next are the college transcripts, which online you can find through your CUNY First accounts. When you're applying, for those of you who are considering CUNY four-year schools, there's no extra cost to having transcripts sent over to those schools. It's free. But for private schools, it will cost $7 and then an additional $2 service fee. And with all of these items, you want to give enough time to make sure that they make it to the college on time. They take a while to process, and you don't want to stress out about anything that might hurt your chances of getting into these colleges because that one transcript got sent in late or something like that. For the high school transcripts, you'll have to contact the school directly to have them send out a transcript to each school individually. And for me, I did the GED transcript process. And for that, you'll have to go through the Board of Education, the State Board of Education website. And there's a process to fill out, and you put the address of each school admissions office so that they'll send out the GED transcript out to each school. And that, again, can be very time consuming. I remember it took about a month and a half for my GED transcript to make it to all my four-year schools. So definitely give yourself a lot of time for that to come in to all your schools on time. And finally, test scores. And if you received your high school or some college education out of the country, you'll have to send translated transcripts from each of those colleges and notarized. You'll also have to fulfill the English proficiency requirements like the TOEFL. Some schools accept the Duolingo English test. And for standardized tests like the SAT and the SATs, that is really by a case-by-case basis with schools. Some colleges don't, it's optional for transfer students. Some schools, some more elite Ivy League colleges require the SATs, but also in this pandemic, things have really changed and a lot of schools aren't requiring them at all. So it's up to you to stay on top of what each school is asking for, and for you to make the decision to say, you know, do I have time for these standardized tests, and is it really gonna give me that edge that I need to help my chances of getting into the school or not? It's up to you. I didn't personally do it. I didn't take any standardized tests. None of the schools I applied to required them, and it didn't really matter in the end. But again, that's up for you to decide. And yeah, to summarize this section, really just plan ahead, take notes, and have your checklist for each school individually. But with that, I'll move on to the personal statement. and personal essays. I know for a lot of people, it can be the most challenging part of the transfer application process. But basically the personal essay it's your unique narrative. It's your personal story that should encompass a personal experience that you've had and how that personal experience reflects who you are in your intellectual passions and your research and where you see your academic journey taking you. Usually the personal statement from the Common App has around 600 word prompt or word count. And some schools are different, some are longer, but generally it's about a page or so for the personal statement, which seems like a lot to work with. But when you'll see as you start brainstorming your first drafts, it's not a lot of space to work with. And you'll find that it feels like an elevator pitch of getting your narrative out there. So some strategies on how to get started is, again, really evaluating the consistency of your story and really like copy and paste the prompt on the Common App into your first draft documentations and always have it in front of you so you don't lose sight of what the core of what they're really asking you. And know that personal experience that you start from can have so many different angles and starting points. I think it's so easy to get lost in what you think the college wants to hear from you and what you think you have to say to sell yourself to these schools. But it's really a process of finding that moment that you want to share and not feeling like it has to be in some chronological order where, I was born, my first draft I remember was, I was born in the Bronx and then this happened and then this happened and eventually led me here. And it just didn't flow, right? I ended up picking an example of an experience I had in elementary school and how it reflected this passion that I've always had to understand how public institutions work, and to ask the priest of my Catholic school at the time a story about how I just asked, where does the money from the donations come from? How does it serve the community? And kind of the audacious, like, how dare you ask that kind of question, and how that memory stood with me and reinforced my passion in higher education and public educational spaces. And to not be afraid to put myself in leadership positions and reflect that in the things I was doing at LaGuardia in the honors program to reinforce this driving mission and pursuit that I've always had. So that's just one angle that you can go about it. But again, it can really take, the structure of it is up to you. And the next thing I'll say in strategizing the personal statement, I had to make decisions on how many people I would let help me with the process. This is an individual choice. Everyone's different, but for me, I didn't want too many people to read over my personal statement or to read too many other people's personal statements as an example, or I would lose myself in my own personal identity and narrative. So I made the decision, think about, I chose a faculty member. I wanted to have one professor who understood my writing, who I took a class with, who could give me critical feedback and could check my grammar and make sure I wasn't missing anything there. And I also had friends, like fellow honors program students that were going through the transfer process themselves. And we would meet once a week and peer review our personal statements. And that would really help us get through the process. So anyway, just think about the team, the support system you want to build as you're going through these drafts. And segueing to the supplemental essays, they're really more of a shorter form prompts that tend to be more specific to the university. How much do you know about the school? What do you want to gain from the college, where you really have a chance to get more specific and even expand on aspects of the personal statement that you didn't have a chance to because of the word constraints. So to the personal statement and the supplemental essay, I'll end by saying, it's so, so, so important. I can't stress enough to save your work throughout the entire process, save your drafts, even after you've submitted them, because you never know if it's a scholarship application, which I know Valerie will expand on more, but when you have essay requirements for scholarships or even on a supplemental essay, you never know what you may be able to recycle that you've already done and can save you time and energy that you are all investing so much in to get through this process. So definitely save everything that you do, and don't forget how it will carry you in the future. Again, I was going through my graduate applications, going through the personal statement I wrote back in 2014 to see how much I've grown and reevaluate how I wanted to talk about myself again and what I've accomplished. So yeah, that's a lot of information, but I hope it helps in some way getting started with your own personal statements. Start as early as possible. But with that, I will hand it off back to Lenin, who will talk to you about letters of recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Raven. A lot of great information. And this all just shows who you are as a person. And so another thing that includes that are recommendation, letters of recommendation. Uh, so letter of recommendation is basically an endorsement of you to help you give you better chances for admission. It's meant to highlight your academic performances and your skills and your positive attributes from the perspective of a professor or faculty that you work with. It's basically a letter explaining the admissions office why you would be a great candidate for the college. Colleges usually ask for at least 2 letters of recommendation, but it could depend on where you apply. So it's important that you find out how many you will need before you start applying. And there are 2 things when it comes to considering letters of recommendation, and that's who do you ask and how do you ask. Um, for letters of recommendation, you should approach professors or faculty that know you well. Like I said, academic officers are looking at your application and they want to get a feel of the kind of person that you are. So you want someone that can speak confidently and positively about you and share that perspective. So whoever writes your recommendation letters should know your academic skills, your strengths, your challenges, and your personality. They should know your academic goals and the hard work that you're putting into reaching those goals. And not only that, but you also want to have a good relationship with that professor that you're asking for, so they can speak highly of you. Keep in mind though that you want to ask someone that you can rely on getting this letter done. So if you know a professor that's far too busy, or just someone that doesn't that's known for not getting back to you in time or anything like that, then it's probably if you go for someone else. As you research colleges, getting ready, take a note of when the deadlines are, because you want to approach whoever you want to approach for the letters of recommendation well ahead of time. Whoever you're asking, most likely is going to be a busy person, with their own workload. So you kind of want to give them enough time to be able to write that letter, to make changes along the way, and give them a bit of that freedom. As you ask your professor, well, first ask them if they're willing to write you one. There might be one reason or another that they might not be able to. They might be too busy. There'll be some reasons why they might not be able to, and that's okay. But if they do agree, make sure to let them know of your goals. So one of the things to let them know is that, okay, where are you applying to? why do you want to apply there? What's your goals within the college? And all these details help the professor kind of personalize this letter to that particular college, which will help increase your chances. Um, Keep in mind though that as you know through this whole transfer process, of course, you want to apply to different colleges. So when looking for someone to write you a letter of recommendation, um, let them know and ask them if they're okay with writing multiple ones, like multiple letters of recommendation for different colleges. And well, lastly, don't forget to say thank you. This letter could make a huge impact into your next section of your life. And that's a pretty big responsibility. So you want to thank them for their efforts, commitment, and their time. And it also let them know of what happens in the end. If you get accepted, definitely let them know and thank them. So just remember though that, do your research, find out when the deadlines are, how many you need, like how many letters of recommendations you need, and get yourself involved with every classes you take, so that way you get closer to that professor. So they're able to get to know you better. And when it comes to the time of writing that letter of recommendation, they can speak better of you and show the great qualities that you have. All right. And so now I just want to pass it on to Valerie, who'll be talking about how to fund your education.
Thanks. Thanks, Lenin. Thanks, everyone. I just wanted to pause here and just kind of take a deep breath because it's a lot of information. And I want everyone to understand that perhaps the number one takeaway right now is if you realize that the transfer, this transfer process is actually a process. It's not a moment, it's not a week. The reason why we're saying start early is because there are all these combination of things that have to come together. So you begin in one place and another, you begin building relationships to ask for the recommendation letters, you begin creating, building up an academic profile, all these elements that we've been presenting and that I've been listening to now, it just reaffirms that notion of start early. And just remember that it is a process. So you do little gradually, and eventually it all comes together, right? And one of those elements, which is hugely important, is how to fund our education, right? So you hear a lot about financial aid. What is financial aid? Financial aid, you need financial. So what is financial aid? Financial aid is an umbrella term for money that is given or lent to students in order to help pay for their education, right? So financial aid can, broadly speaking, and let me just already let everyone know that there will be a workshop dedicated specifically for scholarships and financial aid, okay? But right now, broadly speaking, under that umbrella, you can think of it as the main types of aid are the Pell Grant, which is federal, coming from the central government. TAP, which is state, comes from New York State. Loans and grants. So in order to apply for any of these grants or any sort of financial aid, the main platform, and I'm sure you've heard of this before, that is used for financial aid is called FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. You most likely had to to fill out a profile on the FAFSA platform when you join LaGuardia. So you already have that. If you already have that, if you haven't, you will likely have to do it in the future. But I believe everyone has to do it. And you have to renew that annually. The same goes with TAP, which is state financial aid. And that is the Department of Education of New York State. And both the Pell and the TAP are grants. Grants are money that is given to the student and that does not have to be repaid. So you don't have to repay the federal government and you don't have to repay New York State. Another possibility for funding your education are loans. And loans is borrowed money, right, to pay for the cost of your education, but has to be repaid. So it's not a grant. Grant is given, you keep it, you don't have to repay. Loans, you're borrowing money from someone. So if you are getting into the famous student loans, if they're federal, they are divided in two categories, that is subsidized and unsubsidized loans, which means basically that one does not accumulate interest while you're in college, and another, the unsubsidized does begin to collect interest. I'm not getting into the very specifics of this because it is very specific. There are too many details. Again, this is a broad picture of this. So if you're thinking immediately of, I'm going to transfer to, along with the notion of, this is a process that comes together with time. The other important thing is throughout that process, you will realize and you will refine your priorities and your choices, right? So it makes a very big difference when you come to funding your education, if you're interested in applying to a public funded school or a private school, a college, right? So if you are going to apply for CUNY, which is City Universities of New York, which is public, or SUNY, which is State Universities of New York, which is public, you will very likely be covered by the public grants, the Pell and TAP. If you are applying to private schools, then you will fall short, because even with the Pell grant and the TAP, you will need more, right? So other ways of funding your education could be the loans, the subsidized and unsubsidized loans. It could also be private loans. It could also be work study, which is a federal program. It's basically you are working part-time, usually 15 hours a week, and you get paid for that. And it's very flexible because it is a federal program for college students. So you're probably working on campus or with an organization that is aware that you are a student. I'm just creating this umbrella of options, right? Another option, if you are transferring, for example, to CUNY or SUNY, are specific scholarships for those colleges. There is also something called enhanced tuition awards. And finally, there is the FSEOG, which is Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. Again, if you get a combination of Pell, TAP, FSEOG, and you are applying and you transfer and you actually are interested in transferring into a public school, you are likely already covered, right? But again, depends, because maybe your public school is in upstate New York, so you have to think about your living expenses again, right? So again, it goes back to that bigger picture of your priorities, which are the schools that you're interested in applying to, and how much would you need to have your education funded. What I can tell you is this: there are many options. It is work. It takes a lot of work. This whole transfer process, as we're showing here today, it is a lot of work. But if you every now and then take a deep breath and just move on, it all comes together in the end, right? Moving on to the next slide. So how to apply for financial aid, right? The FAFSA is a form that you fill out on the FAFSA website. You create a profile. In the same way you create a profile for applying to colleges on Common App, on Coalition App, you have to create a profile for your financial situation, right? Your financial history, or your financial, not only history, but current and past, usually 3 years past. So that profile is kept saved on FAFSA. And every college, public or private in the US, accesses FAFSA. So that's like ground zero. How do I begin? I go to FAFSA. Number 2 in that step is go and fill out on the website of the HSAC, which is the New York State Department of Education, because that's what it is. You apply for the TAP grant. Then you have a third very important option, which is a platform called CSS Profile that is on the College Board website. And what is a CSS profile? The same way the Coalition App and the Common App is for your academics and demographics. So colleges can access those profiles, see who is the student, what's the name, where he comes from, what is he studying, where is he studying. The CSS profile speaks to the financial history and financial record of the student. So you have your applications as far as academics and candidates, and you have a profile and application for your financial situation. I would always say explore every possibility. So when it comes to funding your education, even if you don't know if you're going to apply or you're going to get in, be admitted, right, into a public or private school, I would say open the fan, just try to apply to everything possible. So go with federal aid, go with state aid, look into scholarships, look into sign up for work-study programs, college university assistance, be it the college where you are today, LaGuardia, or the college that you might be applying to, right? One element there that it says is private student loans is a separate thing. That is, first of all, if you're going to a public funded school, hopefully you don't need them. You probably don't. They are there, they exist, they're helpful to many people, but as I'm sure everyone has heard of here, it's tricky business because you're borrowing money, and unlike the federal funded, the federal loans, the subsidized and unsubsidized, which have fixed interest, is actually part of it. The subsidized has no interest, right? The unsubsidized has interest, but they're low. Private student loans is a private or institutional organization lending money. So they can ask for anything when you repay that money. And usually it's not very favorable. Again, if you need federal private loans and you don't have a problem paying it back, there is no issue, right? I think that brought, the great majority of the population in this country That's not the case. It certainly was not mine, but I do know people who have tapped into private student loans in order to help complement funding education in very, at very expensive colleges. So again, federal aid, financial aid, it's an umbrella term, right? How do I fund my education? That's what you're thinking when you talk about financial aid. And under that umbrella term, you're thinking, okay, so I have grants, public, you have, federal and state, you have loans, federal, that are subsidized and subsidized, and you have private student loans, right? How will you make that decision? It depends on where you are, your situation, your condition, your reality as far as finances go, and also on where you're heading, right? So moving on to the scholarships, which is very helpful. So what is a scholarship, right? Is that under financial aid or not? It could be, because again, what is financial aid? It is anything that's helping you pay for your education, right? So scholarship is grant or payment made to support a student's education, awarded on the basis of academic or other achievement. And it can also be based on need, right? So we could talk about scholarships for an hour, literally. But broadly speaking, again, if finances is something that is important to you, like it was to me, I began looking into scholarships 1 year before beginning my transfer process, like literally 1 year before. And I began looking at all the possibilities, be it need-based, merit-based, all the possibilities, okay? But broadly speaking, those are it's either merit-based or need-based. I'll make a parenthesis here before moving on. That is, there is one very prestigious and well-known scholarship, the most prestigious transfer scholarship for undergrad students. That is the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation Scholarship. That scholarship is an award up to $40,000. It's usually just funds any undergrad program. And LaGuardia has a strong partnership with the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation. We will have a workshop just to help everyone understand what it is and especially how to apply. But basically, it is an application. It is a scholarship like all other scholarships. It is just very thorough. I applied, and there are many steps. There are different things to write, to fill out, apart from demographics and from basic information. There's like at least 7 or 8 questions to be, like prompts to be answered, right? If you're considering that you might get 40 grand, no problem. I didn't have a problem in taking some time writing that. I did not get the scholarship. I was a semi-finalist, but this year LaGuardia did have a winner. And so just remember that. However, that is an exception. Most scholarships do not have that amount, do not offer that such a substantial amount. So moving on to the next part, that would be other scholarships, right? So just remember the back of your mind there, the Jack Kent Cooke, right? You need to, just before I move on, the Jack Kent Cooke, you have to apply in your last year, meaning your last year before graduating in LaGuardia. If you're in your first year, you still have a second year. Next year, you're thinking about the Jack Kent Cooke. If you're starting your second year now, start reading. Go to the Jack Kent Cooke website, start looking into it, right? But overall scholarships, if you are looking into transferring to a CUNY school, a CUNY college, you can look into the specific college, Hunter, Barrack, whatever it is, and see what scholarships they offer. One of them, a well-known CUNY scholarship, is the Gutman Transfer Scholarship. But they are for, I believe, 5 or 6, I think Hunter and Baruch and others, but not all of them. So again, I'm going to underline this again and again. It's a process, because you go and you check and you research and you say, oh, look, that scholarship doesn't fit in with my needs. So you just get rid of it. But this one does. So you set it aside. Oh, this one does too. And you set it aside, right? So CUNY scholarships, it has to be something you have to look into each individual school. And while a main factor with major scholarships that can be game changers are institutional scholarships, which are granted by the institution you are transferring to or you were admitted to. So that is normally private, not exclusively, right? Because you can transfer into, let's say, Hunter, and you can get a Hunter institutional scholarship, right? When you are applying to a private school, which you're talking about, 60, 70, 50, 60, 70, 80 grand a year, institutional scholarships can be the game changer. For me, it was literally the game changer. The institutional scholarships is money that the university, the college, will give the student, the incoming student, money that you do not have to repay, right? Because it's not a loan. It's a grant, it's given. And so that is something that there's no way out. You have to look into each college individually. Again, it goes back to going to your research. You begin with a list of colleges, you begin narrowing down. Once you have 15 colleges that you think you might be interested, you have to check into each university and college, see what are their options, see what scholarships are available or not, right? And again, there's so much more that to say about this, but that's the overall picture. When you begin looking into scholarships, I suggest find your niche. And by that, I mean the scholarships, apart from institutional scholarships that is granted by the institution that you were admitted to or you're applying to. How can you find scholarships, right? Today, how can I look into scholarships and begin sending out applications? I would suggest find your niche. So there are scholarships that you can tailor cut to gender, to age, to traditional, non-traditional student, to communities. So LGBTQ has a, community has, I don't know how many organizations that help fund education for LGBTQ community. Academic interests. I'm interested in STEM. I'm interested in environmental science, very specific. And there are scholarships for that. So what I can tell you is this is perhaps my biggest surprise at LaGuardia, how my fellow students and how I 1 year ago was unaware of the resources that are available. Does it take work? Yes. Does it take a lot of work? Yes, because you have to go and research. But I assure you 100%, they're there. And when we talk about it, when I speak about it with students, there's a reason why I'm doing this segment, is because I did a lot of research. And if you are interested in music, right, there are scholarships for that. So if I'm interested in astronomy, there's scholarship for that too. So the more you narrow down actually those niches, the stronger your chances are, because you're a more unique candidate, right? I'm a student, I'm a woman, I'm over 30, I am interested in environmental science. How many of those are there, right? So it takes some time to sort through that information, but you have very good chances of getting them. And so again, research, 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 start creating lists, talk, ask professors, talk to your fellow students, talk to HSAC folks. Don't stop asking questions. Do not hesitate to bother everyone in the college saying, I have a question about this, I have a question about that. What about this scholarship? Do you think it works? How can I apply to this? Right? And start early. One last thing I would remind you that all this is just to gather information about scholarships. The resources are out there, you have to apply. And then this applying to the scholarship individually is also a process. You'll look, some of them are much easier. Some of them are actually quite easy. And it goes back to what everyone's been saying. Whatever you do, whatever you write, whatever you create, save it. So if you begin writing a prompt about overcoming adversity, save it. Right now, you know you have 300 words that speaks to that issue. If you have a prompt that is 300 words talking about your favorite subject at school, save it. Because when you go to the scholarships individually, right, you're doing all the applications to different scholarships, one asks for, can you talk about overcoming adversity? And so you pull it out from your, oops, I have something, and you adapt it and you tweak it. But another scholarship might ask for something completely different. And it might ask you, well, can you talk about your academic interests? You have it. So if you don't have it, then you write it. But you get my point, right? Whatever you start doing today, save it, organize it, put it somewhere where you say, okay, I wrote this somewhere. Oh, there it is. And you can pull it up and you can use it. And that is kind of it. I know it's a lot of information.
Right. I know that. I'm pretty sure this must feel like very intimidating to all of you who are just like listening, learning this information. But I promise you, like, it is worth it. It is worth it. And also, you don't even notice how fast the time passes. And suddenly you're already done, like you're just waiting for like the decisions from the schools. But yeah, so I would just say like just start early. The earlier you start thinking about your transfer, making your in doing your research and like building your achievements, the better chance that you will have of getting like to your dream school, or like the better you will make sure to get like into school that's a perfect fit for you, because you will have done like all this research like from very early. So
I wanted to add one more thing that I forgot. That is also something that I never hear people talk about much, and my experience has been that this is very significant, is if financial aid is a very important factor to you, then apply early. Because funds at the colleges where you're transferring to, they literally work by, okay, we have, I don't know, $100 million, and we've gone and we've given and we've given and we've given, and that's it. So it is really, I don't know if it's like literally over, but I'm saying it is first come, first serve, right? So give you an example, and this is real life example. I applied to Columbia, early admission, because, by the way, financial aid was very important to me. And CUNY and Columbia has a CUNY scholarship. They only give 10 scholarships per year for all CUNY students. And I got it. And it's an institutional scholarship. There is no way that I could attend Columbia without, like, forget about it. It's 25 grand. So had I applied late, you know, maybe I would have gotten it, but chances would be much, much, much reduced, of course, because there are other, you know, many people. So if financial aid is something important to you. This whole thing that we're nailing again and again of begin early, apply early, do early, it's more relevant than ever.
And also another thing that I would like to add, why it is important to like do your research or like when you're making your list of schools is because you don't want to apply to school just because of the name, right? I mean, the name and prestige is all it's great, but it really depends on what you want to do, what degree you want to go for, and what you want to do after with that degree. So maybe your perfect fit, your dream school is not an Ivy League. It's not like a smaller college, but with a strong program on what you're interested in, and that's completely fine. Like the school really doesn't define what you're gonna do. It is you who defines like how far you can go. So
And
yeah,
we have an ASAC member here, Amal, who is going to apply to a program. I always forget what it is. It's very specific. Oh, it's something about,
Egyptology.
yeah, it's something like what? Very specific. And she's in an honors class. She's an honors student, but her program is only available in one college in California, and that college is USC. It's part of the California CUNY system, right? SUNY system. It's a public funded university, which is perfectly fine, but it's very competitive as well. But what Veronica just said is absolutely true. You have to find, this process will help you create the priorities and understand what you want, what is more important to you. I want to stay in New York. I want to leave New York. I want to study on the East Coast. I want to go to the Midwest. I know more relevant. The most important thing for me is this program, right? Could be that too. The most important thing for me is I don't care what I'm studying. I just need to get it paid. That's a whole different, so all of these things come together. And, the sooner you begin and the better you research and the more people you connect with and the right questions with, the right, wrong, just ask questions and get the answers, the more chances you'll be able to go to the place you want, fund the education, study what you want, right? That's the cherry on cake.
All right, and with that, we'll start our Q&A session. I know we're a little bit over the time, but thank you so much for sticking with us. There's just really, it is very difficult to cover all like everything in just one hour. So, but definitely look forward to our Jack Can Cook workshop, which is specifically for the Jack Can Cook scholarship for the application, and that one is on September. And then we will also have another workshop specifically about financial aid and, well, not yeah, how to fund your education. And we don't have a date exactly for that one. We'll be on the lookout. Check your check the emails that come from the honors program, and you will know. So I did see a couple questions on the chat. I tried to answer some of those, but I'll just elaborate a little bit. So Jermaine asked, like, how do I join the Honor Society? And then said like Phi Beta Kappa. So like I said, there is a difference between HSAC, which is the Honor Student Advisory Committee, being an honor student and joining the Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society. So being an ASAC member is what we are doing right now. You only need to attend you don't have to sign up for any class. It's just literally like getting involved with us, like attend our meetings, get involved with our projects, and join our Slack workspace. So if you do those things and you remain active with us, that's being an ASAC member. And that kind of and you can show that when you're applying to your schools that, this is one of the extracurriculars that I was in. Actually, I know that in Colombia, I went to one of the info sessions and say, yeah, I'm an ASAC member. And they're like, oh, we have a lot of you here. So like some schools do really know what ASAC is. So then to be an honor student is different than being an ASAC member. You can be an ASAC member and an honor student, or just one of the two. It is independent. So being an honor student just means that you're taking honors classes at LaGuardia. And that's just enrolling on, when you're enrolling and picking your classes, there's on the bottom on your CUNY first, for the class, it says honors, one of the type of the class, it says honors. So that if you take one of those or many of those, that means you're an honors student. And in order to take those, you need a minimum 3.2 GPA. Now, to join Phi Theta Kappa, you need to have a 3.5 GPA, and you usually get an invitation from the director of Phi Theta of PTK, and it goes to your LaGuardia email. So the only you need a so if I pasted the link. If you scroll up in the chat, you'll see it. Like how to join PTK. So you'll get way more information there. So then we have another question from Tala. Like so basically what she said is that so she's taking honors classes, and before, like, if she wants to know, like, if she has to take the honors classes first before sending the application to colleges. So like we said, like, you can start the transfer process as early as you want. The application process, like, let's say, for example, you're applying instead, like, the for fall, like for next fall instead of like spring. So like you're applying a year earlier. If you like, in order for the honors notation to show on your transcript, you already need like to that semester where you took the honors classes should have already passed, and the grades being posted on CUNY first or whatever you check on, like the different platforms where you check your grades. So you can apply without that. But if you want the schools to see that you took an honors class and like recognize that extra effort that you're making, maybe you will want to wait until like you're taking you've taken like the honors class and you already have the grade. Now,
also just one thing, at one particular point there is, you should talk to your advisor about when to transfer, right? So there you can transfer the minimum of credits. I believe it's 30. In generally speaking, I think most universities, you apply with at least 30 credits, right? You don't need your associate's degree in order to transfer. However, my experience, and this I'm saying not only from my personal experience, but everyone I've seen, having your associates helps a lot in the process, because what it does is all these things that we've been saying, that the admissions office, wherever you're going, is looking at who are you, your work, your consistency, right? The consistency in your academic path. You don't create consistency in 3 months, in 6 months. You don't have it. You don't have enough to show. You don't have enough to prove, right? They're looking at that. So this is a tip that I received actually from the Dean of Admissions from Columbia before I joined LaGuardia. So you go to LaGuardia, you build that track, you build the consistency, you show the work that you've done, and then you are a much stronger candidate. Is it better to apply with 30 credits and not having that consistency to show, or later? No question about it. It is better when you have a consistent academic record. That's basically it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what that's totally correct. Like the more time you spend at LaGuardia and you're doing like a lot of different activities, the more you have to show to the school. So that's thank you for saying that, Valerie. So
however, I actually just one last, sorry. However, that might vary, that might be different if you apply to a CUNY school, because the transfer process is easier, it's smoother. They basically kind of just absorb all of your curriculum and just go to the other school. So everything I said, maybe, you can set it aside, or at least you have to check individually to CUNY schools. If you have 30 credits, right? You've only done a year and you want to transfer to a CUNY college, to Hunter, to Barrack, to York, to I don't know where, Queens, that might actually work for you, might even work better for you, because then you go straight to a 4-year school. So that's not, but private schools, I would not advise that, no.
Yeah. So for those of you who are interested in watching the recording, it's going to be uploaded on our YouTube page. The link was posted in the chat. Maybe one of the members can post it again so everyone can access it. Okay, so let me go to the next question. I'm pretty sure I saw another one.
Does anyone have questions you would like to ask here on the mic, on audio?
Yeah, I mean,
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Corinne Smith. I'm a first-year student at LaGuardia. I'm in ASAP, and I transferred in credits from FIT. It's a SUNY school that I had taken some time ago. I just wanted to know what the criteria is for signing up for honors classes at LaGuardia.
Okay, so you only need a 3.2 or higher GPA in order to be able to sign up for the class. So you will sign to an honors class normally, like you will sign to any, like you would pick any other classes, like when you're in CUNY first, right? So let's say like you're looking at English 102, right? And you get you look it up on CUNY first, and you get the list on the different classes with the different professors. So one of those will have it will say honors class on the lower left side, but also we have the list of the honors classes for fall, so you can look it up directly by the code. So as long as you have the GPA required, you can sign up for an honors class.
Okay, so it's not like if you want to take an English honors class and you get all A's in English, but in some other classes you might take, the grade is not that high, you couldn't sign up for an English honors class. It needs to be across the board, even if you just want to sign up for an English honors class.
That would like Veronica said, the only requirements are your GPA and having at least 12 college credits, whether those were transferred in from FIT or that you've already done within your first year at LaGuardia. You can, register for any honors course that you're interested. Some may have a certain prerequisite in the STEM or natural science, right? Just like any other listing if it was a non-honors course. But yeah, it should come up on the honors courses, should show in your CUNY First account, and you should be able to enroll in them like any other class. But yeah, I would definitely encourage you to sign up.
Okay. All right.
And if you do have any issues enrolling, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to work with some students that maybe not totally meet that requirement, but are close and really want to experience honors classes. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
So anyone who has any other question, like feel free to unmute yourself.
Hey, I had a question. So I'm Talha. I'm the one who asked the question in the chat. So my question was that so I studied LaGuardia from spring semester, this semester actually. And when I came to LaGuardia, I actually took a couple of AP classes and college night classes in high school. So some of my credits were transferred to LaGuardia already, right? So I was thinking, for the fall semester, some of the honors classes that LaGuardia is providing, I already got those credits because I took the AP class and college now classes, and I'm planning of graduating next spring 2022. So it's probably gonna be more than 30 credits when I graduate. So I was just wondering, whether would it be okay if I take the honors classes after I submit my application, and then show it to the college that I applied, if that makes sense.
So like if you're doing the application process, they check your transcript and you get accepted, and then after after you gotten in, you show them, like once you submit your final transcript. That's what you mean?
Yeah, I guess. No, I mean,
Hold on, just a second. If you're saying that you are graduating spring of 2022, your
Mhm.
transfer will be fall of 2022, right? That's,
yes,
think
yes,
of it that way. So
Mhm.
you will be transferring in the fall. Oh my God, that's a whole different thing. That's a whole thing as well as the wording of this thing, right? The wording. So you'll be transferring in the fall of 2022. You graduate from LaGuardia in the spring of 22. If you're going to graduate in the spring of 2022, you are beginning to look at the transfer process now. Exactly. It's what I do.
right.
Right. So what is the question? You have the fact of having AP high school classes has nothing to do with the transfer process.
Right.
Do you plan on applying for a transfer before you graduate at LaGuardia?
I mean, like in order to apply for college, like aren't we supposed to do it like this October? Or like the deadline for all the colleges are in March, right?
No.
Every college is different. Some deadlines, especially if you want, some colleges will have early application deadlines, if that's something you want to take advantage of and increase your chances. But typically starting from the late fall, winter, all the way through, some colleges extend their application deadlines to April or even June, like the Columbia General Studies program. So it's up to you, like Valerie said, from now to start thinking about your college list, about your trend. I think what you're trying to ask about your AP courses, the high school transcript that you send out to those colleges will reflect the AP courses that you took. And if within the next year that you have at LaGuardia, you happen to enroll in an honors course as if you have any leftover electives, since you said you fulfilled some of the requirements that you see the honors courses are offering, you may be able to still squeeze one in there, and that will show on your college transcript that you took an honors course, which then would help you. But you also have to evaluate within the next year, like, do I have enough time to also go through the transfer process? And like I tell students, the transfer process, you have to think of it like you're taking on a part-time job in terms of it's unpaid, right? But you're doing the labor of a part-time job. So you have to think, if I'm full-time these last 2 semesters at LaGuardia in between both sessions, and taking in the LaGuardia schedule into account, how it's different from a lot of these 4-year colleges. So you have to really be on top of the deadlines and how much you can take on your personal workload. Is it worth graduating, getting the associates, then waiting for the next application cycle? Some colleges even have spring admission deadlines. So that's, again, by a college basis, whether it's CUNY or private. So yeah.
And that would also, this is where what I said, that if you're interested in transferring to a CUNY school, right? Or perhaps even a SUNY school, yeah, then maybe you could look into transferring next spring before you graduate, before you complete your associates, right? If you're interested because of your academic choices, you're interested in applying to private colleges and universities, then unless it is an exception, I've never heard of any applicant or any private college say anything but finish your associates, have a strong track record, and then you apply. You want to, because if you're going into it makes sense, right? If you're going into a competitive scenario, you want to be at your best. Having 30 credits is not your best, because there's so much missing. You have, in comparison to others who have actually completed their degree, who have consistency in, a year and a half or 2 years, and so forth. I'm not saying that that student is worse or better. It's how people are measuring consistency, how these colleges measure reliability, right? And so I think that is, for example, a very strong fact. If you, for example, say, no, I'm actually interested in only CUNY schools, then perhaps no, then actually I would say then you have to look into each individual CUNY college and see what they're asking for a spring admission or a fall admission. Do you understand?
Yes, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. So if anyone else has any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves. Or otherwise, like this, that will be it for today. I know it's a lot of information. But really, like time flies, and you don't really notice how much you're doing until like you're already done with the application and just waiting for a decision. So as long as you do your research, start early, start thinking about your transfer early, you will do totally fine.
Yeah, and if I could add one more thing before we part, like Veronica said, you know, it can be easily overwhelming, right? But you all being here today and taking in all this information we just dumped on you is that first step to get your mind going into the transfer process. And if you ladies don't mind, if I can give a shout out, actually, Valerie and Veronica were just accepted to Columbia General Studies program, and they'll be transferring there in the fall, which shows again that support system, right? That they've built through the honors program, through LaGuardia in this pandemic, right? Of still forming these support systems while they went through the application process and still had the time to come here and present and organize and put this all together. And Lenin as well, right? Who still has another year at LaGuardia. He's going to be in this with you all, right? So,
but I can see Lenin getting there next year. I mean,
yeah, you know, and for
yeah.
people who are interested in the Columbia General Studies program, you can reach out to Valerie and Veronica, reach out to any one of us as you begin to go through this process. It's better not to do it alone if you don't have to. So I just want to give a huge thank you to Lenin, Valerie, and Veronica as LaGuardia students who put this together.
I would also,
and to all of you for coming.
I thank you, Raven. That's so sweet of you. Lenin, he's just, you know, a little late over there. He'll be there in a minute. I'm teasing him. He's amazing. No, what I'm saying is this. I think Slack is actually the best platform. So HSAC, right? HSAC, ASAC has a Slack channel? No, I don't know what it is. As a
Slack workspace.
Workspace. Okay, the wording.
I know.
It has a workspace, so it's very easy to reach us there. I would strongly suggest just get on bloody boards and get there because it's easy to communicate. Another thing I think it's really important, and everyone who knows me knows I'm big on this, is dude, there is no shame in my book. There's no shame if you don't have the money to go to college. I didn't. There is no shame if you're applying to a public school. There's no shame in applying to a private. There is no shame in success, and you define your success. That's like 100%. I love it that at in ASAC we have this brilliant young woman. She's unbearably talented, Amal, and she's going out to California next year. You know what I mean? And her point is she wants the public school, right? I went for different schools, but I wanted to stay in New York. So there, I mean, again, I can't make this because there's an emotional toll here, the emotional toll of studying, the emotional toll of academics. Dude, we do not need any stigma or shame around us. You know, you do your best. If you do your best, everything comes together in the best way possible, right? And again, everything can change. Maybe your first transfer will be to one school, and then 1 year later you say, actually, I want to transfer out again. Go for it, you know? Stop the boxes, create your own box. Create a whole new box that doesn't exist. You know what I mean? You establish your path. You establish what success looks for you. Join Slack and let's talk. I'll have a drink now.
Thank you so much, Valerie. Like really, like those words are really like, I feel like what everyone who is thinking about transfer should hear, because like this, it's just finding your perfect fit. That's it. Doesn't really matter what college, what city, what degree. It's just your perfect fit. Like it's your own path. So that's why you gotta, like, the only thing that you gotta take into consideration is what you want to do. So yeah, thank you so much everybody for joining us. Once again, thank you to Lenin, Valerie, and Raven for being here. Thank you to Daniel also. He's been he's also one of part of HSAC, and he's been like on posting on the chat the links as well. So, and finally, thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully this has been like helpful, and you at least know where to start now, which I think is like the biggest the biggest thing. Like it's you don't know where to start now. Hopefully we already like we helped you like get to that point. So, and good luck everyone to you know, like the things that are coming up for you.
Yeah, good luck and reach out to us. But, you know, just spam us with messages whenever a question comes up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good night.